Órale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin. NFL Insider Series continues hot, heavy. We're going East Coast on this one, Familia. We're going East Coast. We're going to Carolina, baby. Carolina, sweet Carolina. And joining us is our buen amigo Jeff Haseley. But I want to make sure before I throw the intro out there, make sure you're going to Familia FFB on YouTube. I see you, Familia. You're growing. Your subscriber numbers, you're growing. So keep subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button. Hit those notifications. These are coming out near daily right now, and I want to get these all taken care of before training camp so that you guys can have a little bit of context going into the season. So let's go. And also want to make sure you use the Underdog promo code Familia. Put it for every dollar you deposit on your first deposit up to $100, you get $100. So every dollar. So get going. Use that promo code Familia. All right. And Jefe, mi amigo, just welcome in. This is the fourth year in a row we've done this. Fourth year. You're one of my 4 for 4 folks that's been here every year. You've given me so much great info. So first off, muchas gracias for joining us. Thank you for coming here.
Yes, thank you. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, your team, your crowd, and your family, your familia. And I'm looking forward to talking about the Carolina Panthers and anything else that is, that comes around.
Oh yeah, we'll come around to stuff other than the Panthers. But first off, let's. The team. It was. Dumpster fire in Spanish we'd say un desmadre. It was tough. Bryce Harper, sorry, that's a little bit north of you out in Philadelphia, but Bryce Young, I remember when we talked, we liked all of it seemed like the coaching staff was really good, but it seemed like he had too many voices talking to him. And that was one part of it, and maybe just the offensive line. It's how tough was it?
You could argue that he had a lackluster performance in his first year, and a lot of that was due to having a dysfunctional environment, right? You mentioned the poor offensive line, the inconsistent coaching staff, the ineffective wide receiver core. The running game was weak, maybe. They fired, of course, Frank Reich midway through the season. There was just a lot that happened negatively last year, and Bryce was a big reason why, but not the only reason why. And I think we're going to find out this year. This is kind of his make or break year. It's only year 2, and usually you kind of see that like year 3, maybe 4. But if things don't come together for him, they've put the pieces in place for him. They got the new coaching staff in. Dave Canales is, we talk about a guy who brings a lot of energy, right? A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of positive energy. The guy is like Anthony Robbins is a football coach. And I would say, coming from the Pete Carroll coaching tree, he has an aggressive offensive style, and he'll focus on the competition. He'll know, okay, how do I win this week, right? That's the type of coach that you're getting with him. And even though we haven't seen that yet as a head coach, we've seen what he can do as far as, elevating quarterbacks. He's almost like a quarterback whisperer, right? He's, single-handedly helped resurrect or revive the careers for Geno Smith, for Baker Mayfield. And everyone thinks, okay, great. Let's see what you can do with Bryce Young now. So this is kind of what we're going to see. And, we talk about the Panthers, the outlook for 2024. Last year, I was optimistic about their hopes of being like the division leader. And that just went by the wayside of the reasons that I already mentioned. But so I'm optimistic, but I'm not like, this is what's going to happen. I'm more cautiously optimistic that they can improve. And I think that's where they need to focus their efforts. 2 wins last year. Hey, they beat Houston. They beat CJ Stroud. And they beat Atlanta, right? So they need to double their wins at least and get up to Vegas is saying like 5.5, 6.5 wins. I would love to see them get 7 wins and just kind of start to build the program. If they can do more than that, obviously it's cherry on the top. But there's some growing optimism in Carolina. But I mean, there was last year though, Jorge, and we saw what happened. So again, it's cautious optimism here in Carolina for Carolina fans, and those who are the true and proud that have pride for their team, the keep pounding team. That's something that we'll always be hoping for. And I'm looking forward to this season and seeing what they can do. The fact that they recognized what was wrong last year and put the people and the opportunities in place to get more people onto the team and to manage their expectations, to do whatever they can to improve. I mean, that's a step in the right direction, and I think that needs to be mentioned as well.
I thought I was unmuted on that one. Specific to Bryce Young, I mean, he was the number one pick for a reason. I mean, not a lot of. I mean, he was the consensus number one pick, and how much was it him? How much was it that the offensive line was one of the worst in the NFL? Which to me, I think that's a big part. And Adam Thielen was really his only weapon last year.
Yeah, I definitely think the offensive line was a huge problem, and it was the catalyst to what made Bryce kind of struggle. But I mean, as a rookie quarterback, you're going to struggle anyway. I think everyone does, and even for people saying that Caleb Williams is going to be the Jesus on the football field, I say let's hold off on that just right now, and let's see how he does.
I may have to clip that. I may have to clip that warning.
Oh boy. But as far as Bryce Young is concerned, yeah, there's obviously talent there. There's skill there. One of the things that Canales is working on is getting that ball out quickly. And, that's what we see in Tom Brady. That's what we see in Peyton Manning. That's what I should say saw in Eli Manning. All of them got the ball out quickly. They didn't take a whole lot of sacks. I think that's something that Bryce needs to work on. Having that offensive line improved, It will definitely help. Robert Hunt signing one of the best guards in the league on a multi-year contract. Damian Lewis, who they got from Seattle. That's just going to help and bolster that offensive line. Of course, they already have Ike Mekwonu and who's the guy in the right tackle? Why is he escaping me? Oh, Taylor Moton.
Oh, yes.
It's in my Rolodex in my brain. I finally got it. So that's not a bad line. If you look at some of these offensive line rankings, they're like, top 12, 13, 14, 15. That's pretty good considering where they were last year. So I think that's definitely going to help Bryce's development and his progression to do what he can to try to be the next quarterback in line in Dave Canales' recovery program. So definitely looking forward to that.
Well, I mean, this needs to work with him because you're right. I mean, teams are starting to move on from quarterbacks after a year or two. We saw it in Pittsburgh with Kenny Pickett. I mean, we've seen so many guys just getting, that they don't finish their rookie quarterbacks. Justin Fields, another one that Mac Jones. So yeah, gosh, with that whole 2021 class, I think, except for Trevor Lawrence, but so yeah, he needs to come up, and it does start with him. I love that. And I told you before the show, one of the great moments was when you compared him to Fran Tarkenton. He's still, he does have a little bit of that, where maybe that led to some sacks trying to extend the play because the offensive line, but did you see any glimpses for hope
with Bryce?
Yes,
absolutely. If you watched the Green Bay game where they almost pulled it off at the end, they wound up losing the game, and they would have had a chance to tie, to go to overtime, if it wasn't for running out of clock to spike the ball to kick the field goal. But he looked great in that game. And I don't know if it was like Green Bay's prevent defense that was causing him to have a lot of opportunities and attempts and completions and touchdowns in the second half of that game. But he looked great in that game. The fact that they traded for Diontae Johnson, I think, is a big help looking into this year, because here's a guy who is one of the better route runners in terms of just getting open and having that separation, that skill of being able to separate. They didn't have that last year. At one time, maybe you could say that Adam Thielen had that ability, but that might even be a stretch. And now that he's 33, almost 34 years old, that we're not seeing that as much from Adam Thielen. So Diontae Johnson could be that key piece who can come in and kind of help unlock that offense and help Bryce Young out for sure. Then getting Xavier Legette in the draft as someone who has a similar skill set, build, speed combination of like a DK Metcalf. And there's the Seattle connection again.
It's so true.
Is something that is, that we're going to see how he grows and how he develops. He looked awesome in South Carolina last year, but that's just 1 year, right? COVID played a part in his role and his emergence and stuff at South Carolina, but he looked great last year. And if he can continue that and improve on his route running, I think there's a possibility where he could be kind of a key component, especially when it comes to like contested catches or stuff over the middle, an area that I think Bryce needs to improve on there. And I think that will help him. So there's a lot that Carolina is doing to help Bryce develop and become the Bryce that we all want to see, because last year just was not it. And the fact that we missed out on recognizing that is obviously that's something to mention, but there's a lot that's happening with this team. There is growing optimism. Bryce Young is obviously the one who's going to, take the team to the next level. And having Dave Canales there as your offensive-minded head coach, I think, is going to be a big piece of that. So, we'll see.
So, it looks, the way it's shaping up, it looks like Diontae Johnson is going to be the clear target, the target leader on this team. Kind of hard to see, him finishing with less than 100 targets on this team, especially considering considering some of the quarterback play that he still rose above to be such a big target earner. Does it shape up like Thielen might be the guy, but maybe Legette might be more of a second half kind of guy who gets some run after he's got his legs under him a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. It could. And let's not forget, in a quiet year for I should not quiet year, but he quietly had a good year. Adam Thielen with 100 catches and 1,000 yards, and the offense that Carolina put on the field last year, that's damn incredible. If you think about it, they were, sacked an awful lot. They had penalties. There was just so much that happened last year negatively with Carolina's offense, and for Thielen to have such a strong, almost like a career type of year, you would have to be crazy to think that he's not going to be some part of that offense this year. He will. He will. Diontae Johnson, most likely will see the majority of those targets, but Thielen's going to be right there, and it really depends on how Legette performs in the preseason and training camp, of course, and how he learns, picks things up. I know the team is really super high on him. There was talk about when Carolina had the opportunity to potentially move up even into the high teens of possibly taking him. They most likely would have had to give up a first-round pick, and we don't know for sure if that's who they were targeting, or maybe it might have been a defensive end or an edge rusher. But for them to say that or speculate that it could have been Legette that they were going for, that tells a lot. And plus, they already did trade up for him. They had their heart set on him. So there's a role that Canales has in mind for him. And a lot of people are saying, the Mike Evans role that he had in Tampa. So it just depends on his development, his speed in terms of picking stuff up. It is asking a lot, but the opportunity is there, and it might not be until year two. And like you said, second half of this year, that might be where we really start to see it, because that's kind of where we see the growth and development of some of these rookie receivers, unless they're like just an absolute kingpin from the beginning. And I don't necessarily see that from him.
Any from what you've been hearing, any hope for Jonathan Mingo, or is he? I mean, it's kind of hard to be the fourth banana or fourth wheel on this thing.
Banana. Yeah, they also have Terrace Marshall too, who's also kind of waving in the wings. So
We're still holding the candle for him.
The candle is dwindling in a heavy wind. So there's both of those guys. There's still opportunity, especially with a new offense, a new system, getting the ball out, more experience and knowledge in the NFL. 1 year under their belt more. There's by default they should be better, right? The question is, how will they be involved? How much better will they be? What's their overall mental psyche of,
right,
hey, this is where I'm at right now. I'm a receiver in the NFL for the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to do my damnedest. Like, for example, one of the receivers that I really like in that mental aspect is Amir Smith-Marset. You might remember him from his Kansas City days and special teams. So he had an opportunity to do something, and he is always talking about how he's looking to improve, and that goes a long way, in my opinion. There's the undrafted free agent that they signed, Jalen Coker out of Holy Cross, who has like a really good skill set, and a lot of people are talking about, again, similar to Legette with contested catches and just his size and speed combination. The fact that he was at Holy Cross, a lot of people are like, who's this guy, right? But Jalen Coker is someone who could potentially make the team, and he's one of those like deep sleeper type of guys, right? But,
really deep.
He's super deep because he's got to make the team first, and second, and he's got to get involved. But we sort of saw a little bit of that from Puka Nacua last year too, right? Small school. Has that mentality. The opportunity is there. Who knows what happens? But Jalen Coker is a name to remember. I'm looking forward to his training camp and how he progresses and develops and learns what he can do. So someone to think about there. We haven't even talked about the running backs yet.
I was literally going to say, let's jump into the running backs. Jonathan Brooks was the top running back taken in the NFL draft this year. But coming off an ACL, had surgery in early December. So, us with the work we've done with people who are, fantasy PTs, and orthopedic surgeons, it's 9 months minimum. So, we already know he's not going to start training camp. It could, I don't know. I'm kind of getting a sense it could be Chuba Hubbard early and Jonathan Brooks late. In the season. Thoughts?
Yeah, it could be. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, feel free.
Yeah, Jonathan Brooks. One of the things that I was really impressed with when he was drafted, he was all about, oh man, I'm looking forward to doing whatever I can. I'm so thankful that Carolina has chosen me as their opportunity to be their next, running back. I want to help out as much as I can. I mean, there was no, oh man, Carolina drafted me. I'm just going to do what this kind of like cliche statements. No, it wasn't like that at all. He was genuinely happy and pleased to be in Carolina. And I think that mental approach, and again, it's the second time I mentioned that, goes a long way to a player's growth and development. Looking forward to Jonathan Brooks being like a 20 touch per game type of guy. But I don't necessarily see him being that right off the bat. Like you said, heck, he might even be on the PUP list, right, to begin the season, which is possible. And I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't mind that. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, but I also want to know that the team is going to kind of move him along, as they see fit. So Chuba Hubbard, I would say will be a key participant in the offense, especially early on, with Brooks kind of making his splash maybe midway through the year. If Carolina can have like 3 wins in their first 6 or 7 games, I think that's a pretty good start for them. And maybe Brooks, kind of helps elevate the team even more when he does get his chance. But yeah, Brooks is definitely someone of the future, and I'm not sure if he's going to be someone who's going to be a key contributor this year. That's yet to be seen. So a lot of eyes are going to be on him and his progress in the preseason, of course, training camp as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, and we know he's not starting training camp. He's not going to start training camp because he's still rehabbing that. I kind of looked at the parallel between his injury timeline and the one of Todd Gurley, when Todd Gurley, had suffered an ACL at the end, before. It was very similar. Todd Gurley he had surgery like maybe a week or 1 or 2 weeks earlier, and he still missed the first 3 games of the season. So I don't know how much, if his was more complicated or what, but and then he definitely got his feet under him and he was fine. But so yeah, I tell me what you think. I mean, I'm advising everybody, if you're not taking Jonathan Brooks as your hero RB. You can't do that. Maybe as your second RB, but you got to have a plan for who your third RB is going to be, to maybe have him ready to play.
Yeah, and if you do decide to go with him as like your second RB, go with a committee approach between him and Hubbard. I think that would be a pretty decent approach, but I would even more like to see him as an RB3 by committee with someone. I am not as gung-ho about him this year as maybe some other people are, and I think it's just being cautious with his situation. So yeah, I would not make him my RB2. That would be kind of a stretch for me.
That's it's hard to do that unless you really got a plan to have somebody. I like the Chuba Hubbard. I've heard a few people talking about that, because it almost feels like it could be one, Hubbard holding it down, and maybe Brooks gets some more. So on this team with so many pass catchers, with so many wide receivers that we've already talked about, and we hardly even talked about Jonathan Mingo, but he's just we talked about him. He's the fourth banana. So
he is yet to be determined is where he's at right now.
Very much to be determined.
What happens if Jalen Coker outplays him in the preseason? Right?
Hey.
Where do they go? Are they hitched to Mingo so much? Is he anchored to the team?
Results oriented. It's a new regime.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a new regime. So they're going to want to put the best players on the field. And if that's Coker, guess what, Mingo? I mean, you had a good run. I don't know where he would go.
Adios.
Perhaps maybe a different team and kind of work his way. But yeah, if you can't make it on the Panthers receiver core, what does that say? So it's we'll see. I'm not giving up hope, and it seems like I'm already starting to dig the hole. But we'll see what he does. Obviously I'll support him for his efforts and what he does, but if he doesn't, that's what we're talking about here.
On the tight end side, but are there so many mouths to feed on the wide receiver side that is it hard to see a tight end breaking through to be more than like a once a week starter here and there?
No, fantasy wise, from a tight end situation, I'm not feeling it from Tommy Tremble. Jatavian Sanders, he would have to do a whole lot to be a starter. I mean, he's not going to come in and be, that tight end, that rookie tight end that makes some noise in year one. I don't necessarily see that from him. I think he'll eventually get to a point where he's used more, but I don't see him being any kind of like a fantasy fixture with the Panthers, as a fantasy play, at least not yet.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I just don't see it's hard to see. I mean, it's hard for tight ends. I think we got spoiled last year, with the rookie tight ends that did well. And I think that's raised expectations. And I just think that's way too much. I think this year on the rookies, maybe Brock Bowers, if he gets enough volume, but I don't know beyond that. But, you already ran through the offensive line and and did great. So we don't need to jump back to that one. I want to ask about the defense from kind of like how teams are going to attack them and if fantasy managers need to attack this defense. They've lost Brian Burns, didn't have a lot of draft capital to add to this group. I mean,
so their defense is actually was one of their strengths last year, with the exception of their rushing defense,
Right.
especially giving up touchdowns. They gave up 25 rushing touchdowns last year, led the league. But total overall defense in terms of yards, they were fourth, which is impressive. Third in against the pass. Now, a lot of people could say, well, they let up a lot of rushing yards. That's why they didn't let up a lot of passing yards. That might be true also, but they had like 8 or 9 games where quarterbacks did not throw for over 200 yards, which is insane. So, yes, they lost Brian Burns. They did. That's a big loss for them. But they brought on Jadeveon Clowney, which is nice. He's a local guy who is finally coming home. There's a lot of talk about that as well. And of course, former number one overall pick. They got DJ Wanham also from Minnesota. And who else? Josie Jewell, linebacker from Denver that they got. Jordan Fuller, who they signed, who was on the Rams, who you're probably familiar with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good ball.
So he's good there, right? We already mentioned the offensive guys, but I think Ashawn Robinson, who will definitely be a contributor. He's a defensive tackle who was with the Giants, that you might recall,
and the Rams before that.
Yeah, before that. So he's someone who can be kind of a person in the crowd to stop that run run offense, who can be a part of that run defense. So I mean, yeah, they've made some moves. They lost Frankie Louvu, they lost Burns. Those were the two big ones. They don't have Von Bell anymore. Jeremy Chin, who kind of fell off a little bit, didn't really work out that well in Ejiro Evero's defense for whatever reason. He's kind of like that roving type of joker type of safety / linebacker that Who knows, maybe he'll do something in Washington, but it just didn't work out in Evero's system. Diontae Jackson was traded. That was part of the Diontae Johnson trade to Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
They signed Dane Jackson from Buffalo, who, I mean, he's a former 7th round pick, so he's nothing spectacular, but he was rotational for Buffalo. And Dan Morgan, who had his ties with the Bills, is kind of familiar with his ability. He probably thinks of him as a player who is kind of eager and excited to be part of something bigger, more involved. So I think there's some optimism there among Dane Jackson, even though we didn't necessarily see that completely from him in Buffalo. But he was a little bit lower on that rung of defensive backs there. So maybe we'll see him do something a little bit more. So yeah, I think I've gone through some of those defensive guys. Clowney is a guy who has 10 sack potentially. And he is usually he's someone who's still looking for a team to rare about now, and he's not involved in things, and he's getting that contract. He's like the defensive equivalent of Ryan Fitzpatrick, who used to go from team to team and just collect the paychecks, right?
And help and play well.
And play well, right? And Clowney has kind of done that. Or he was with Baltimore last year, had a great year.
Yeah. Good against the run. Good against the run, which is going to be good for the Panthers.
That will help. And the fact that he's coming home to where his family is, I think that's also a big kind of feather in his cap. I'm excited to see what Clowney does here for Carolina. He seems to be all in. And in years past, I don't think we could say that about him. Where he was, it was almost like he's collecting a check from Tennessee. Who doesn't collect a check from Tennessee these days? It seems. Whoa, slight dig on Tennessee. And so it's possible that he really kind of has. I don't want to say a career year, because that would be something, but kind of a rebound opportunity for him to kind of just show, hey, this is what I'm all about. I'm all about team. I'm all about family. I'm going to do what I can to do whatever is needed for this defense. So I'm optimistic about Clowney. Obviously, that's a pretty big signing there for Carolina, considering that. And I wouldn't say he's like a 5-star signing. He's maybe like a 2.5 star signing guy, but I think he could make a splash. So. Yeah, the defense was actually somewhat of a strong suit last year for him. despite the fact that they had like the absolute lowest percentage of quarterback hurries. They didn't get a whole lot of quarterback pressure. They were last in the league in sacks. They only had 27 sacks last year. And for them to be third overall in defense, I mean, that says a lot. So maybe there's some smoke. There's some fire to the smoke there for the Panthers on defense this year. We'll see.
Awesome. By the way, when you said Shohei in there, thank you for doing that, because that YouTube algorithm is going to pick up something about Shohei Ohtani in here. So that thank you. It's going to give us a boost in there. So thank you for doing that.
Should I just say Taylor Swift or something? Make that even bigger.
I did that with recently when I sat down with our Kansas City Chiefs insider, and yeah, we had a whole Taylor Swift section. So yeah, we're feeding the algorithm on the Familia FFB YouTube page. So mi amigo, this is awesome. Okay, what you have given me some of my favorite kind of like Mexican food hot take, kind of like dreams, food fever dreams that I still need to make it out to Charlotte to try that nacho plate at that place that you get the place where they have you any new takes, any new experiences that you want to share?
Food takes? Oh man, I don't know. I mean, it's just the thing is with Charlotte, they do a lot of things pretty well. Obviously, barbecue is a big thing down here. They'll throw barbecue on nachos, I mean, which is just outstanding. And there's also a lot of Spanish or Mexican cuisine here too, which is, you don't necessarily have a whole lot of that up north if you're up from up north or northeast. So that's big here. They do things well when it comes to even like pizza, right? No one thinks Charlotte for pizza, but you know what? They have places where you can get all kinds of different pizza. So there's a lot to offer there. Cheesesteaks is obviously a Philadelphia, Mid-Atlantic type of thing, but I mean, there's still great places for that stuff here. So it's kind of a melting pot of cuisine. And I enjoy looking for new and finding new places to go to and try out. So there's no shortage of that. And that's something that's really kind of picked up in Charlotte over the last 20 years. 20 years ago, you couldn't go uptown. Maybe 25, 30 years ago, you couldn't go uptown and then find any really good quality places. And now it's just a ton of things that you don't even know about. Oh, this is new. Oh, I had no idea. Where's that? And, so it's, there's a lot to offer there in terms of food, because I know you're big foodies as well as I am.
Yes.
So lots of stuff.
Love it. I want to start. Next time you have barbecue tacos, I need a picture posted on Twitter and tag me on it. So barbecue tacos is one of the gosh, what was it? I think I had barbecue brisket tacos one time, which was absolutely heavenly. Somebody made it in their yard, and it's spectacular. So, oh my goodness, try it. Any barbecue, anything, barbecue pulled pork, anything. Oh, actually, barbecue pulled, any kind of pulled pork tacos would just be divine.
Oh yes. So pulled pork is definitely an institution here in the Carolinas, and they all have there's their Eastern style, your Western style. They have all kinds of other styles that they've borrowed. Hey, try this, or they'll blend things. There's just so much you can do with barbecue, and the Carolinas have kind of figured that part out. Now, obviously, Texas is more like beef style, right? And Carolinas are more pork. St. Louis style has their own ribs and whatever. Kansas City, same thing. So it just depends. To me, it's not like you rank barbecue. You can't be like, oh, Carolina's ranked 1, 2, 3 in the nation. No, I mean, to me, it's all damn good.
It's all good,
right? I mean, Texas does the brisket super, super well, and ribs too. I guess you could say that. Kansas City, St. Louis, same thing. And Carolina does that pork, boy. If you like pork barbecue, Carolina is the place to go. And Memphis and Tennessee, they're also very, very good. You can't go wrong with that. And one of the biggest barbecue guys that I know is Joe Bryant, right? Football Guys owner. So he does barbecues all the time, and he's got his own setup and everything. And he's got he can make enough barbecue for an army, and he's done that. I have been lucky enough to have it before, and it's delicious. It's so good. Anything that Joe makes is usually pretty good. So there's a plug for Joe and his Barbecue Guys side to him.
Exactly. Yeah. Barbecue
stuff.
guys. Yeah. I think he's got to start dropping some recipes in the Football Guys newsletter. So the e-newsletter. So you got to do that. Oh man. Oh man. Amigo. Well, it's almost lunchtime here, so you got me fired up with some ideas, but right now, please, feel free. Let's close up shop. I know you got some stuff coming up on Football Guys. Let us know.
Oh yeah, so Football Guys is obviously a great place to look for all kinds of fantasy information and content, rankings and dynasty and IDP, which is really big growing up more this year too. We have a lot of contributors, a lot of excellent staff writers. I'm thankful and happy to have been a part of Football Guys since 2007. So it's a lot of years for me. I do a lot of work there, collaborative pieces. My rankings are there. One good thing about Football Guys, if I could just say this, is that not only do they provide rankings and everyone kind of provides their own rankings, and it's usually, there's definitely some outliers there because some people are like, ooh, I really like him, or no, I don't. And we put comments with our rankings too, which really kind of helps you, the reader or the viewer, understand kind of where we are with our thinking or our process on that. And with all of our collective minds putting all of those thoughts together, it's great. I love this. One of the favorite things that I like to do is to be a part of the comments on the rankings. And people are, if they're doing their draft and they use the Football Guys draft dominator and they're looking at a player, oh, do I want to take this guy here? Oh, I don't know. Let's look at what's the staff say about that, right? And then here's my opinion, my view, or maybe it's someone else on the team, right? Matt Waldman or Sigmund Bloom or Gary. I'm forgetting his last name. Oh, I'm sorry, Gary. The IDP guy, Draft Sharks guy.
Oh, yes,
Gary,
yes.
Thank you. Please help me. Please put me out of my misery. We're gonna have to edit this. Anyway, Gary's rankings.
It's gonna come up right after we record.
I know it's. I apologize, Gary. So I mean, there's so much to kind of share with people in that regard, and those comments are huge. So when you're using that to your advantage when it's draft day and you're looking at those players and you have our opinions of what we think, it's just giving you that extra added fuel. Oh wow, yeah, this guy says he might be potentially a wide receiver 2 this year. Oh man, I can get him as my wide receiver 5. Boom, I'm submitting this pick right now. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. I'm happy to be a part of. You obviously, check out everything at Football Guys and check out my stuff as well. So, yes, thank you for that plug. And definitely appreciate all of your viewers checking that out.
And I'm putting you out of your misery, Gary Davenport.
Davenport. Thank you.
Right there.
Oh my gosh.
Right there. You don't have to. You can sleep tonight. You could sleep. Sleep everything. Oh man. So, oh mi amigo, thank you for jumping on with me on this one. And there's that. I think there's some best ball drafts that people could. There could be some gold to be mined at the end of drafts, and so make sure plug Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code Familia. Get into those best ball drafts. Grab Bryce Young late. Maybe you grab another receiver. You stack them. If they go off in week 17, hey, maybe you get a little payout in Baseball Mania. So, thank you all for joining us. Also, make sure you're following the Familia FFB YouTube page. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. NFL Insider Series is caliente. Let's do this. I'm Jorge Martin 17. Find me on Twitter at Jorge Martin 17. Also, my content you find it RotoWire, Yahoo, and also Fantasy Pros. Yeah, all over the place. Muchas gracias, everybody. Muchas gracias, Jefe Jeff Haseley. And remember, todos somos familia. Salud.
And if I could say one more thing here, Jorge,
yes.
If you're still watching this all the way to this point of the show, you definitely need to hit that like, subscribe button because you are here. If you're here for a reason. Support this channel. Yes, thank you for that. And we appreciate your support.
Muchas gracias. Oh, Jefe, you're the man.